Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. Today guys, I'll be checking out this interesting video from Thomas Sowell, and it's titled Capitalism's Influence on the Anti-Apartheid Movement in South Africa. You guys, I'm super excited for this. If you're yet to subscribe to this channel, please consider subscribing. Give this video a massive thumbs up, comment, share, and all that good stuff. And without much ado, let's see what this video is all about.
It is easy to understand how being denied an opportunity to be hired or promoted for some jobs can lead to some groups having lower incomes than others, and why that can arouse moral objections, not only from those denied jobs, but also from others who find such practices morally repugnant. From a causal perspective, other questions arise as to the reasons for such practices. Here, the cost of discrimination to the discriminator plays a causal role in the outcome. There is also a cost for society at large. A society in which women are arbitrarily banned from many kinds of work can pay a huge cost by forfeiting the productive potential of half its population.
That's true.
Society, however, is seldom a decision-making unit, except perhaps at election time or during a mass uprising. To understand decisions in general, or employment decisions in particular, requires understanding the incentives and constraints confronting the particular decision-makers in particular kinds of institutions who cannot simply choose to do whatever they wish without regard to the costs of their decisions to themselves. In a competitive market for labor, or for the sale of the employer's products, the validity of the beliefs behind a business owner's decisions can determine whether that business operates at a profit or a loss, and whether it survives or is forced to go out of business. In short, we cannot simply go directly from attitudes to outcomes, even if these attitudes involve racism or sexism, as if there were no intermediate factor of costs for decisions made in a competitive market. To avoid endless and inconclusive debates about the presence or magnitude of racism, we can test our hypotheses about the costs of discrimination in a context where there is no ambiguity on the subject, namely South Africa during the era of apartheid, ruled by a white minority government, elected with the black majority denied a vote, and openly promoting white supremacy. Apartheid laws limited how many blacks could be employed in particular industries and occupations, and forbade their being hired for work above certain levels in those industries and occupations. Yet white South African employers in competitive industries often hired more blacks than they were allowed to under the apartheid laws, and in higher occupations than those laws permitted. A government crackdown during the 1970s led to hundreds of firms in South Africa's construction industry being fined for violating those laws. Nor was the construction industry the only one in which competitive businesses were fined for hiring more blacks and in higher occupations than allowed under the law. In some other industries, blacks even outnumbered whites in some particular job categories where it was illegal for blacks to be hired at all. There is no compelling evidence that the white employers violating those laws had different racial views than the white legislators who passed such laws.
Exactly.
What was different was that employers who failed to hire black workers whom it was profitable to hire paid a price for discrimination too, in the form of lost opportunities to make money, while the legislators who passed laws imposing discrimination too paid no price at all. Indeed, legislators who failed to pass such laws would pay a price politically in a situation where only whites could vote and where white workers wanted protection from the competition of black workers.
Why, you guys, what are your thoughts on this video? I always find it very disgusting when black people are being discriminated against. South Africa is a country that comprises of both blacks and white, and treating the blacks the way they are being treated is also heartbreaking, because I don't even know why blacks are seen as the minority in everything. But let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. And Thomas Sowell is doing such an amazing job with this narration, and I keep saying this every single time. Thomas Sowell is such a wealth of knowledge, and one can easily listen and learn things that you don't even have knowledge existed. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below, and let's wrap this video up, you guys.
Both the employers and the legislators were rationally pursuing their own self-interests. It was just that the institutional incentives and constraints were different in a competitive market from the incentives and constraints in a political institution. Nor were labor markets the only markets affected by the costs confronting discriminators in South Africa. Apartheid laws made it illegal for non-whites to live in certain areas set aside by law for whites only. Yet many non-whites in fact lived in those whites-only areas. These included Black American economist Walter E. Williams during a 3-month stay in South Africa doing research. There was at least one whites-only area in South Africa where non-whites were a majority of the residents. Here again, costs are the key. The costs to those owners of rental property in whites-only areas who forfeited economic benefits available by refusing to rent to non-whites competed with the costs of disobeying apartheid laws, and the latter did not always prevail. While racists, by definition, prefer their own race to other races, individual racists, like other people, tend to prefer themselves most of all. That is what led to widespread violations of apartheid laws by white employers and landlords in competitive industries in South Africa. It cost nothing for white South Africans to vote for candidates promoting white supremacy. But the costs of refusing to hire black workers who would make their own business profitable could be considerable. Moreover, the cost of refusing to hire blacks when other businesses competing in the product market were hiring them risked having competitors with lower prices be a threat to the survival of a business operating in a competitive market. This is not to say that discriminatory laws and policies have no effect. There are costs to disobeying laws, as well as countervailing costs to following such laws. So outcomes depend on particular circumstances in particular times and places. The costs of discrimination, too, can be far lower or even non-existent in situations where free market competition does not exist, such as in 1. Public utility monopolies, whose prices and profit rates are directly controlled by government, 2. Non-profit organizations, and of course, 3. Government employment. In all these particular situations, discrimination too has tended to be far more common than in competitive markets, not only in South Africa under apartheid, but also in other countries around the world. Unless one believes that decision-makers in these particular institutions have different racial or other views than decision-makers in competitive markets, and that such differences persist over time as new generations of decision-makers come and go, the reasons for such institutional differences must be sought in particular incentives and constraints growing out of differences in the circumstances of those institutions.
Wow, you guys, that was such an interesting one from Sowell, and I really enjoyed every minute of this video. Let me know what you guys think about the apartheid movement in South Africa. Did you know it existed before now? As for me, I had no idea until after listening to Sowell. Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye, guys.